perpetuates segregation and exclusion. That being said, like, I also think that it is reasonable to have an understanding of what your neighborhood will look like and what changes are coming to your neighborhood.
And I don't mean to stop you. I want to keep it very, very
yes,
simple because I just want to make sure I understand. The issue, because the reality is that if our primary goal is affordable housing, or if our primary goal is neighborhood character, or if we share those goals, if they're equal, there will be times where they conflict.
Right.
And I mean, do we want the comprehensive plan to work out where they should conflict? Can we set a number one priority and a number two priority between affordable housing and neighborhood character?
I think we can, and I think part of our coalition's stance has been that we should prioritize affordable housing as the highest priority in these projects and zoning commission decisions. That should be the zoning commission's job to make sure that's the first priority that gets taken care of. And then, of course, we should address those other issues.
Ms. Green?
I don't think there's a real choice. I think, with all due respect, I think you're setting up a situation where people who want stable neighborhoods, are really left looking like NIMBYs, and we really aren't. I will give the example in Tacoma. We have housing, it's along the metro station tracks. You can see it on your right as you go from Silver Spring down into DC. And this is housing that came up on Spring Place. It's actually 50 to 60% AMI. Our community had absolutely, no objection whatsoever. This is almost 100% building. There was very little market rate there. What we were concerned about was having that building look like it belonged, look like the character of the neighborhood. That's what our concern was. And I could point to projects in the city that do look like they belong, that are affordable.
And I don't.
That's my question.
My intention is not to set up to look like NIMBYism. Neighborhood character does matter.
Yes.
But again, there will be times where they conflict, and I think that's where most of the council is trying to figure out what we do with the comprehensive plan. How do we address? What do we do where we have to decide if one is more important than the other? I don't know the answer to that.
No.
Just very quick, I won't use up all time. The comprehensive plan as it is in fact contradictory. The contradiction you're asking is in there. It says, as some people have said before, protecting neighborhood character. It also says build affordable housing. And it does not have clear answers about how to resolve those. The zoning commission had been discretionarily making that decision. We would like to give it additional guidance to guide that decision. But if the lawsuits, under the system we have with the lawsuits, if any decision is violating one part or the other, is then susceptible to being blocked entirely.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much.
Councilmember White. Councilmember Nadeau.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What is the definition of a stable neighborhood?
I think it's a neighborhood where people are not being displaced, where longtime residents who live in existing affordable housing, and that can be a number of things. It can be rental apartments, it can be low-scale row homes, where these families don't have to worry about having to leave because they can't afford to pay the taxes on something that on paper has gone up.
Where in the district is that neighborhood?
Well, in my neighborhood, for example.
Which is, I'm sorry.
Which is Tacoma.
Tacoma.
We have affordable housing. We have affordable apartments right now.
But you have a lot of expensive housing as well. Single-family homes are quite expensive in Tacoma.
It can be, but people have been in those homes for decades and decades. And, there is a concern among some people in the community they can't afford the taxes. There is plenty of affordable housing in Tacoma, and because the values are going up so quickly, there is an issue of displacement.
So what is right size? I'm sorry, go ahead. What is right-sized housing for a neighborhood like yours?
It means housing that it means you don't want a 60 or 70-foot building very close to or across the street from, or in some cases 30 or 40 feet from something that is 30 or 40 feet tall. You don't want something that's twice as big. You don't want, we just had a case on Willow Street where they are going to put 5 It's an 8-unit apartment building, and it will be about 5 feet from the neighboring single-family home.
It's 8 units.
And that, you know, I mean.
Did you say
that-
8 units?
8 units, yeah, very small units, and they're going to be on a street. That's, now, the Historic Preservation Review Board approved that, I want to be clear.
So maybe my perspective is different because in Ward 1, we have all kinds of housing next to one another. And so to me, 8 units next to a single family home doesn't feel like such an imposition. So I'm going to, let's put a pin in that. But I guess I want to get to, and then I want to ask some other witnesses questions. But I got a chance to glance at your written testimony, and I know you had said aloud too that we shouldn't put affordable housing in industrial zones. I understand that. But it should be near good schools, et cetera. So but you also have concerns about changes to low density areas. So I'm just wondering where are we going to build the affordable housing, if not in any of these places?
Can I answer that?
Sure.
The last paragraph in my testimony, I wasn't able to get to. One
Okay.
of the comp plan amendments we suggested was a change to the central employment area in downtown. What OP did for zoning regulations rewrite was to triple the size